Welcome to episode 18 of Crosstown Cardboard with my good friend Craig at New York City Sports Cards. He's the teacher of math and the coach of soccer over on Long Island is where he's from, but he teaches in New York City. So I try to make sure I get that right. And I'm Carmine at Carmine's Cards, the sports and news broadcaster, originally from Westchester County, New York, now in Southern Oregon. And we're joined by our cousins, cousin Tony at cousins_collectibles and cousin Oz, who has now become my man crush, and it's really circulating across the globe. He's at Oz_the_peoples_mailman.
Yes.
And Craig, before we get into our guests, we're talking about family in the hobby, the connections made, and who better to have on while talking about family than our cousins. So they're huge Philadelphia Eagles fans. And Craig, you have a more proper introduction for our Wolfpack members.
Yeah, and once you see Oz's dance moves, you'll probably feel the same. But in this episode, where we're going to talk a lot about cards and hobby, and as it relates to our experiences with family and sharing it with family, there's no one better to have it on than our primos, Tony and Oz, who I was a guest on their podcast way back in the beginning, and they've just become great friends of ours, Wolfpack members, guys who put out genuine, resourceful, and useful, meaningful content. So we're avid listeners, and we're excited to just chop it up, talk about some hobby experiences, why family is important to them in the hobby, and how their relationship has grown. So, gentlemen, great to see you both.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having us. This is a long time coming. Like I said, Craig was one of the OG guests. Yeah. So it's nice to come full circle and get this thing popping.
Yeah, I remember back in the day coming on, talking about the card club and all the big things he was doing. And that was like one of our first, I would say, big dog interviews for us. Because Craig, you had a connection with a certain somebody that we all can we can call him Uncle Rob,
Yeah, Uncle Rob.
Yeah, and that to us, that was very, you talked about being meaningful, but you coming onto our podcast was very meaningful to us because we were just starting in the game and didn't have too much experience. But you came on, you did your thing, and that helped us. And you were a springboard for us, bro. Like we appreciate what you did for us, and hopefully we can do something special for you guys tonight and have some fun, man.
Wow, I appreciate the kind words. And of course, I still have the customized poster you guys got for our card club, which I will be bringing out on Thursday at our next meeting. First meeting in a long time, but yeah, you guys were a big contributor to that. So
sweet.
Much love.
Awesome. Hey, Before we get started, quick question. The on Long Island. Please explain that to us non-New Yorkers, why you say on, and I'm assuming the bad way to say it is in Long Island. Is that, or what?
I've been there before, Tony. You don't want to see Craig when you tell him that he's in Long Island.
Okay.
Well, if we're just talking technically speaking, it's an island, right? You're on an island, but it was one of those things at an early age that's just the way you heard it on. So it's like nails on a chalkboard when someone says in. So Carmine knows better by now.
Okay.
Is that, Tony, is that like similar to when they say down the shore in Philly?
Yes. Down. Yes. They say down the shore. You don't say you're down
at the shore.
So you're not at the shore. You're down the shore. So yeah. That's,
I never got that one, but yeah, I feel you.
Apparently it's not cool to say San Fran. That's what I've been told as well. You want to just say SF. So if there's a West Coast listener, tell me if I'm wrong there. I'm just trying to know all the cool lingo.
SF.
Okay.
Could be. I don't know.
I don't know.
These guys, these Eagles guys, they don't give an F about SF.
That's what I'm saying. I know SF got jacked AF.
Yeah. And it's funny because I also got to know the cousins by being a super fan of their podcast, by originally listening to our Uncle Rob, the sports card therapist. And when he had you guys on, I was like, man, these guys got a great personal, genuine, authentic, cool vibe. And they were just called the Funkles by one of their listeners, the fun uncles in the hobby. And I was like, let me give these guys a try, because they just blew me away with how I just I could listen to them talk about anything from like down the shore on Long Island to, Roberto Clemente and Stranger Things cards that they like to collect. So then I started messaging them too with basically just compliments on their show. And then who would have thought, like, months later, here we are in the Wolfpack together with Rob and with you guys, with Craig. It's really super cool.
Yeah, appreciate it. Like I said, man, this is fun. I'm looking forward to building this. I mean, this show is going to be dope. But I mean, we got a lot of things coming. We're building a lot of stuff as far as content goes. So sky's the limit for the Wolfpack.
Facts.
But seriously, how fun is this? Like the connections. You want to talk about like 6 degrees of separation, bro? Like everything that has gone on from, when you guys you've been collecting your whole life, Craig, and so have you, Carmine, and Tony and I. We recently did as younger kids. Life happened. You get married, the whole nine, and then a couple years ago, I get into it. I bring Tony along, and he has a great idea of just going ahead and getting on these mics, which was insane to me at first. But now here we are 72, 73 episodes in, and it's just amazing what has happened, the relationships that have been built. And then to become a part of the Wolfpack with you guys, I mean, this just takes it to a whole nother level. It just first went, like I said, it was organic, just talking in the DMs, having fun, chit chatting. And then it's like, why not take this next level, man? And Carmine and Craig, you guys are doing your thing on Crosstown Cardboard. I mean, your episodes just keep getting better and better. It's must listen. I just talked to the guy that called us the Funkos. I said Funkos. His name's James Lumen. Shout out. He was one of the guys that was on one of Rob's round tables, the last one that he had with one of the, all the collectors there. And he shouts us out every episode, and I was just talking about, hey, you need to listen to Crosstown Cardboard. He's like, yeah, I heard about them. I got to get caught up. I was like, yeah, man. Yeah. So shout out to you guys doing your thing, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Oz. So Craig, what do you think? I mean, these guys are on the circuit. I mean, when I worked at ESPN, they used to call it the car wash, when you would have a special guest come in and they would basically go through the car wash of each individual show, appearing on each show. And it's like, like going through the car wash of all the different things that you get hit with. So these guys are now veteran podcasters. What can we throw at them as far as an initial question that will be something they maybe haven't heard before?
Okay. Wow. You threw me for a loop there. But these guys really have been getting their reps in, hosting shows, being on shows, guests, live content, you name it. I mean, I don't know how you guys fit it within the day, but since we wanted today's theme to be about family, right? You guys are cousins. Your relationship has grown through cards. What was the first cardboard experience you two had together since getting back into the hobby?
Ooh, good question.
Yes.
We actually have not had that. Yeah, no, we didn't have that, right, Daz? No, not really. No,
that's a new one.
Yeah, that's a new one. So props to you guys.
Yeah.
So our first card venture was going in on the 86 Jordan, believe it or not. We kind of, when we set out to be full-time hobbyists, or however you want to put it, we talked about, well, what can we do to solidify ourselves in the hobby, right? So, and Oz, he'll tell you how it came about, but I'll give you the real quick highlights. So we decide that the Jordan is the card that if we get that card, I'm like, all right, people are going to take us seriously. It's a lot different, and nothing wrong with collecting. I mean, we run the gamut of cards from 25-cent cards on up. Not as high as, you guys, but, we'll get there one day. Anyways, so we decided to go in on this Jordan. We buy it. We probably bought that Jordan at the wrong time. Now that I'm thinking about it, cousin Oz, but perhaps, it was during the boom a little bit. So that it was, it was probably not the best time, but we were learning. So, and then the only way you learn in the hobby, man, is to either have someone to take you under their wing, or make mistakes, and hopefully you learn from them and kind of go on. But we got that card raw. We send it out to PSA, and I'll never forget, the thing comes in. It comes back a 7. It broke our hearts at the time because we really thought we had at least an 8, hoping for a 9. Because I remember when we sent it in, we saw the pop report change or something like that. And it was like, yo, dude, or no, somebody had just graded a 10.
It was 2 10s that had popped up on
right.
the, on the report,
Wow.
which it hadn't changed for a while. And all of a sudden we sent our card in and it went up by 2. And I was like, yo, Tone, I don't want to say that we got a 10, but I'm saying we got a 10, bro. So, the expectation went, sky high. But in my mind, I was like, we probably didn't get a 10, but we're guaranteed a 9. Because this thing was immaculate. It was perfectly centered. Nothing wrong with it. Corners perfect, like everything. And we're not graders, we're new to the game. But in our eyes, we didn't take a magnifying glass to it. We didn't do the whole 9 like that. But it was just like, it looked to us like it would have graded a lot higher. And it's funny, the whole story, because the way it worked out, like Tony said, it was like, man, what can we do to make a splash? Because if we're going to do this content, we gotta be legit, and what more legit than to say, hey, we got a Michael Jordan rookie 86 Fleer. And I remember being on my route delivering my mail, because I'm Oz the people's mailman, and seeing the one house that I kept going to. This guy kept getting magazines that were like collector magazines, like Collector's Digest, like magazines I've never seen before, but they had all these things to do with collecting, and they would have the cards. So I had just gotten back into it. I'm like, every day this guy's getting, either sporting news, collecting magazines. And I was like, this guy got to be collecting cards. So, I hadn't seen him. And then one day I go to deliver at his house, and there's an older gentleman, gray hair, mowing his lawn outside. And I was like, this got to be the guy. So I go by, give him the mail. I'm like, hey, he's like, hey, how's it going? He goes, you're not the regular here. I'm like, no, I'm just helping out today. Do you collect cards? He's like, and the funny thing was, he looked at me, he smiled from ear to ear. He goes, yes, I do. And I was like, that's what I thought. He goes, do you collect cards? And I said, yes, I do. And we just struck up a friendship from right there. And come to find out, this guy's been collecting over 50 years. He had, what, Tony, 3 complete Fleer, 86 Fleer sets with everything, stickers and all that. Now, he didn't believe in grading. Everything that he had is raw, but he's been collecting, he has every top set, I believe, from 1955 till now. And it's ridiculous, the amount of cards that this guy has. He's been through a divorce because of the cards. And he readily admitted that. His last wife was like, yo, you need to figure out what's going on. It's either me or the cards. And he was like, I choose the cards. Peace out. And that's how serious this guy was. He even, his son, he has a strained relationship with his son. And he came to the point where he told his son's older, he's, like I said, he's in his 60s. So his son's a lot older. And he probably like I say about a year ago, they got together and he had a serious meeting. He said, listen, I'm not getting any younger. I have this huge collection and I want to give it to you. And the son was like, no, I don't want it. I saw what it did to our family. You guys got divorced because of this. I'm good. I don't need your stinking cards. And that's the relationship he had. Now, he's a great guy. He was a dentist, and, obviously you can't say the quintessential family man. But, he's obsessed with cards. You want to talk about a card addiction? This guy has it. And, so little by little, I was going over to his house. He invited me over a couple Sundays. We watched some football. He was a big New England Patriots fan. He had this garage. You would go in. It's like a man cave, hanging out with the recliners, watching TV. He's getting me water. We're talking. And then he's like, you want to see some of my cards? So like after three weeks of meeting up, I was like, yeah. I never asked one time. I wasn't trying to, but he's like, okay. He said, what do you want to see? I was like, well, what do you got? He goes, everything. I was like, well, like what? Like, he's like, everything. And I'm like, okay, like what, 86 Fleer Jordan? He's like, yeah, I got 6 of those. I was like, stop. He's like, no, I do. He goes, as a matter of fact, listen, I don't have them on me. Yeah, I have them in a safety deposit box. Come back next week. I'll go ahead. Are you interested? Do you want one? I was like, yeah. He goes, come back next week. I'm going to have all 6 for you, and you pick which one you want. He goes, you have the pick of the litter. He goes,
wow.
only thing is I want full book, meaning, whatever the Beckett book value is, top, full book, wow. You're going to have to pay that.
Played the Beckett card on you.
Exactly. Yeah. And at the time, I'm like, I don't know what the hell full book is, but let's make this happen. So I told Tony, I was like, bro, we're getting a Jordan. I don't know how much this guy's asking for it. I'm going to pick one out on, next Sunday. Well, and then Tony's like, well, should I come? I was like, no, you can't come because I don't know if that'll throw the dynamic off. I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I don't want to scare this dude away. Let's just get, seal the deal. And then from there, we can, start building another relationship and then try to get his whole collection. So Next week I go there, and dude, this was the first time that I actually seen a Michael Jordan in front of my face, and not just one, but 6. And he's like, all right, which one do you want? And dude, you want to talk about anxiety? I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, well, this one looks good. Well, no, this one looks good. So I'm there for like 25 minutes. He's like, do you need some help? Yep. And I'm like, I don't know, just give me that one, bro. I think this one's the best one. And I took a picture for Tony. I sent it to him. He was like, damn, bro. He's like, that one's perfect. I said, dude, I said, I'm not a grader, but this looks good to me, man. This looks like at least a 9, definitely an 8, at least a 9, and maybe a 10. And so we bought it for $6,000 raw.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were hoping with the hopes of getting it, you know, that we're brand new into the hobby. We have no idea. We just know, you know, I had to tell my wife what we were doing. She wasn't too thrilled, but then I sold her on, if it's a 10, this is a $250,000 card, my love. You know, well, yeah, but you're going in with Tony. Won't you be splitting? Yeah, we'll be splitting it. Okay, so then I get 125,000. Either way, we're going to be making way more than the 3 that I just spent. She's shaking her head. She's like, whatever. She's like, you better not. I was like, I got this. So that was our first venture, man. We went and bought the Jordan. We went to get it graded. That we did our first reveal video. That was our first time as Cousins Collectibles on a video. So that was pretty fun. Those were the days, man.
Wow. I had known that you guys went in on a 1986 Fleer Jordan. I did not know that full backstory, which is awesome that we get to hear that on our podcast of all places too. So did you guys end up, I was just looking up the prices currently. When was it that you guys bought that raw?
Was that 2 years ago? I believe so. Yeah, I can look it up, but I can tell you we no longer own it.
Yeah,
we sold it at the National.
Carmine, I guess that's around 55 right now.
A 7.
A 7 is last sold for $4,500.
Look at
that.
A 10 is going for the last sold at $180,000, and a raw is around $2,400 for the last sold on the 1986.
So we paid a little high on it. We were a little high raw, but I know at one time before, like we were right in the middle of the peak. So I know at one time the 7 was going for $15,000.
Yep.
Wow. So you guys made a good amount of money on that first investment then?
No. I said that's what it went for at one time when it was at the high. But when we sold was at the time of the National, this past National, which we didn't make 15,000. No.
Yeah, but you have an amazing story to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
So worth the entertainment value.
Well worth it, bro. Like if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here. So yeah, I'll take that any day, man.
That's funny. You made a funny point about you had to bring it up to your wife, and where navigating the hobby with your significant other, like your neighbor, is a pretty important element.
Mm-hmm.
That's why every time I set up at a show, I try to make sure my wife gets a nice dinner at the end of it. But I remember buying a hobby box of 1990s like Fleer products from basketball. So 1998 Fleer Brilliance. Nice. I bought a box from the card store around here. It was like $600. I ended up just selling it at the show for the same amount. But I told my wife there was a chance that you can get the Kobe 24 karat gold out of 24. And it's like $100,000 card. And now you got my wife convincing me to try to open this box. And I'm like, no, we're gonna hold it. We're gonna keep it sealed.
Just imagine, man. That's just the gambling aspect. You know, there's always that feeling like, man, what if I do open this and it has, like right now I'm holding on to like 2 LeBron James, the Space Jam little blaster boxes. And I'm like, what if I have that one auto that's like 1 in 500 million? What if it's in there? Yeah. So I don't know. I might have it. I got 2 little boxes that I might have.
Yeah. Open it up.
That's so interesting too with Oz, your story about, the pros and cons of what the sports card collecting can do to family, going back to the theme of our episode here. It got to the point of the son not even wanting the dad's incredible collection that I'm sure was worth, maybe 6 figures or however, So, and then the wife divorcing over cards, I mean, it sounds crazy, but when you, like what you were saying before with us getting more and more invested in starting a podcast, taking time from family, being a guest on podcasts, setting up at shows on the weekend, spending the family's money on these things,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it could easily go down that rabbit hole of messing up the family dynamics too. But I was interested in your guys' connection as cousins because I heard yesterday from Oz on the Wolfpack episode 2 that we just recorded with four of our guys, which was great. And so, Tony, I wanted to get the perspective from you about what your relationship was like pre-cards with Oz, and then after this Jordan deal and you guys getting more into cards together, and how it's brought you your relationship changing since cards.
Better be nice.
I will. I'm always
no. You're never nice. You make me out to be a monster. But go ahead.
Truth hurts. So I hated Oz when I was a kid. He was just nice. Yeah, he was
listen,
just like
listen, you said the same story. No, wait. I just want to preface this. You said this story on Jeremy Lee, and you got to say your story, but I didn't get to say mine. So I'm definitely going to rebut this one, but go ahead.
That's fine. So I'll tell this. I'll tell the truth, and then you tell the story. Okay. So basically, we're 4 years apart. Like I said, 4 years apart now is not a lot, but when you're 16 and 12, 12 and 8, it's a bigger gap. Mm-hmm. So, and I think probably it was like 12 and 8. It was like, because that would be like when Nintendo around there.
Yeah.
Oz was one of the first guys I ever knew that had a Nintendo Entertainment System. That thing up there, the 8-bit. You guys are a little younger than us, but it probably looks like some kind of weird relic. But that is actually a video game system.
We're talking Duck Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah. See, you just showed your age because it's Duck Hunt, but we won't hold that against you. Close enough. No, but yeah. So, so Oz has that, and Oz had all the toys when he was a kid. Oz was little. He had all these special things all the time.
It sounds like you're hating, but go ahead.
No, I said you had special things. How is that?
If it's okay if you were lit as a kid.
Yeah. See, he feels some type of way.
It feels like I'm getting a little heat for it, but go ahead.
There's no heat. I said Oz had a lot of special things when he was a kid. He was a special kid. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
He was a special child. He was, anointed the savior of the world.
Child.
And Oz is he's something else, the Oz. But anyways, so he gets this Nintendo, and I go over to his house for some reason, and he has Mike Tyson's Punch-Out there, and he's playing it. And the first time I see it, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. It's like, I was amazed. I'm like, this is wild. There's like this little guy, and he's fighting these guys that are like 5 times bigger than him. And Oz is good. He's like just knocking people out. Just sitting there watching. I'm like, can I have a turn? Like, no. I was like, wow, okay. This guy just said no. I'm like, geez, man. I'm like, I'm a little kid, man. Like, what? At best, I was gonna last like 2 minutes, but this freaking greedy punk didn't, let me have a turn. So whatever. So I go away, and that day I just turned evil. I was like, you know what? It was like, how like villains have like their origin story. That was my. And then Oz will tell you how, supposedly I was like bad or whatever, but. That day I left, and Evil Tony was born. Fast forward to now COVID time, I guess. Yeah, like around there. We're watching basketball. We're texting back and forth, and Oz sends a picture of cards. I was like, dude, what is that? He's like, oh, these are my cards. I'm like, I was like, first of all, you're stupid. You collect cards. That's dumb. I was like,
literally.
Yeah. Because and I would just take any opportunity. I will say any opportunity to take a shot at Oz. I wouldn't let it go by. It was just because, Oz is so thick skinned that he can take it, as you can see. But that's neither here nor there. So he tells me that, these are really his cards. And he then proved it with a scantily clad photo that he sent me holding said cards. So I was like, oh, all right. Yeah. So I was like, oh, wow. All right. Then you really
remember any of them?
The cards?
Do you remember any of the cards that he first sent you?
Yeah, it was Embiid.
It was an Embiid card. It was his, it was also the Dr. J, the 86 Fleer, the sticker, and his, his card there.
Let's start.
Yeah. It was also
Allen Iverson. Yeah.
It was definitely dope stuff. I saw at first I was like, wow, what the hell? But so and then from there, it took some convincing, but once I jumped in, we're here. You know what I mean? And I've loved it ever since. Like doing this podcast is next level of hobby. So yeah, that's that's the gist of it. And I'll let Oz rebut everything and lie, but go ahead.
Okay. So enough of the nonsense. So listen, check it out. That one time that Tony came to my house, because literally it was one time. So when we grew up, we had a very tight knit family, but for some reason, Uncle Fred and Noelia, his mother, and Tony, they were never around. And Tony, you know that. You guys, you spent more time on your mother's side of the family as opposed to your father's side. So I rarely got to see Tony as a kid. Tony and I really interacted later on in the teenage years. But as a youngster, I even remember that one time that you literally came to my house, which it really was one time. And I was playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Now, when I play back in the day, like Nintendo, like I'm a Nintendo nerd, geek, like every game, that's all I would do. I would either play basketball or Nintendo. So he just came out of the blue. I had no idea he was coming over. So I'm here, I'm rocking, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, doing my thing. And here comes Tony out of the blue. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was always like an introvert. So I'm not really even, like, okay, I know that's my cousin, but we really don't have a relationship. But you can watch me, here, just sit over there and watch me play, because I don't really know you like that, but you can watch me. So I'm playing my game and I'm knocking people out. And then, he asked me, but like, there's always like, when you're playing Nintendo and stuff like that, it's what you call like a video game ethic, like when back in the day, like if I die, or I get knocked out, I'll give up the sticks. But as long as I'm playing and I'm on a roll, you got to watch, bro. And I'm teaching you, we're going through all the steps. So that's kind of like what I was doing, giving him a tutorial, showing him the full capability of what Mike Tyson's Punch Out is, getting all the way to Mike Tyson and knocking his ass out. So I gave Tony the excitement of that. That's why you see that Punch Out and you see that Nintendo up there. That was because of what he saw that day.
Spin zone.
So it wasn't that I was being rude. It was just like I never got knocked out. I never, you know what I mean? I just kept going. And then by the time I would have given up the sticks, it was time for him to leave. So Tony, I apologize. I apologize for scarring you for your life, for not allowing you on the sticks to play Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And I will take full blame for you becoming evil Tony. And from that point, Tony, which he will not admit, then became, you ever see any of those movies where you have the real smart ass kid? There's a group of kids, but you had the real one that's a smart ass that always starting fights, always talking smack. And it's like the one guy is like, yo, just shut up. You know what I mean? You're going to get us in trouble. That's this guy. You know what I mean? So it's like I said, 16, 12, and he's here talking smack like he's 20, and it's a group of us. We're older kids, and here comes Tony and his young boys, and he's walking around with his little strut and his little swag like he got something going on, 12 years old. And we'd be like, yo, like, what? And I'm like, what's up, scrub? Like trying to put him down. And he'd be like, and he'll come back with quick whips. And you know what I mean? And it was just, he was just on another level. Like the smack talk that was coming out of this kid's mouth at the age of 12, it was just unreal. So it was always that love-hate like relationship. I love him because he's my cousin, but he's a shit talking mother. Like,
okay. I was nice. I was really nice.
Yeah, you were really good. Nice. You were really good. Like if
you would want me on your team,
yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. If you're on my team, but if you're not on my team, I want to kick your ass.
Yeah.
So
but I just want to say to anyone listening, now that you see how deep their relationship goes, how incredible is it that little pieces of paper with athletes on them, we're able to bring them together.
Yeah,
beautiful thing of cards.
That's what it is. And even we were doing fantasy football before that, before the cards, and we would still talk, but it was more like competition type thing. But it was really the cards and getting into this, and just not even paying attention to what's going on the outside, and really diving deep and bringing our passion with this. And it really has changed our bond and our relationship to where like Tony's not, he's not the same dude. He's unrecognizable from the 12-year-old smartass that I remember. And I'm pretty sure I hope I'm unrecognizable from the quote unquote dick that he always calls me. Sorry to say that, but I just want to keep the verbiage correct. So hopefully we've taken it to the next level, and our bond has taken it to where we're getting along at right now. So
yeah. So there you go. You got the evil origin story. You got the card origin story. Man, you guys are You guys are batting 1,000, man.
Getting deeper than Rob the sports card therapist, man. Putting us on the couch.
This is the real therapy. This is the intervention, actually. He had the
Oz,
therapy.
Oz,
we're intervening.
Yeah, Oz, you said it yourself that having this podcast and the hobby in general is like, it's very therapeutic. You get to get your thoughts out, and we're seeing that firsthand here.
Yeah, agreed. Love it.
Love it. Yeah, come on. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, I think we got the current generation. I wanted to dive into the next generation of collectors that you guys are creating with your kids. So I know, Oz, you really bond with your daughter over the Stranger Things collection. And you guys recently on your Cousins Collectibles podcast had a dad, the sports card dad, on talking about his family and talking about how he had to scale back his card addiction, as he called it, for the sake of his family as well, and just be more thoughtful about it. So I assume that we have a lot of other family men or family women, hopefully too, listening to our podcast. So I'm curious, what advice would you give to somebody who's a middle-aged guy collecting or something like that, who has kids and who's trying to find something to bond over their kids with, since you have done it so well with your daughter?
You know, the main thing is trying to find something that you guys can connect on. You know, and it's tough, especially, you know, my daughter's 11 years old and I have another daughter who's 24 that could give two craps about what I do, you know, and the first person I went to was her, because that's the first person I was like, if I were to give my collection, it would be her. But she's, I don't care about that, you know. And I'm like, well, you know, I used to coach your basketball team. We used to play basketball. You know, I collect basketball cards. She's like, yeah, and she's a teacher, you know. Nice. Yeah, she graduated from Penn State, so she's doing her thing. She just got married, and now, you know, she's pregnant now. So she teaches at St. Peter's, and that's basically grade school, first grade teacher.
Okay. Nice.
Yep. That's where I went. And that's where she went. So Tony went there as well. So yeah, it's come full circle when it comes to that. So yeah, she's not really interested, but the 11-year-old, you know, we started bonding with the show Stranger Things, and she got hooked on it. And once I found out there was going to be cards, and, you know, it's from Zero Cool, I was like, oh, they already had the cards from Topps. We really weren't, you know, getting into that. But then, you know, this past national, she came the last day of the national. We were able to do some things there and really, you know, just solidify that bond with that. And since the national, she's been all board. You know, we're doing these things to just every day. She's calling me up. She's either trying to make me an edit or a reel, you know, on Instagram. She's really good with that. She'll be like, Dad, do you want me to do something for you? You know, like maybe something for I'm like, yeah. So she's always constantly trying to figure something out to help me with the hobby and vice versa.
I thought that was all you.
No, that's my daughter.
Wow. Shout out to your daughter. She makes some dope edits.
Yeah, that's all her, man. I put on there her name, you know, courtesy of, you know, her IG name. She just got a new Instagram account where she, you know, we obviously we're monitoring it, and she can only work a certain amount of time and we have full control, but just, she's real creative like that. So we're allowing her to just go ahead and expand on that. But yeah, if you're going to do something, there's twofold. I would really try to get something for, if you're married, you definitely got to get your wife involved some way, somehow, when it comes to this. It's really key. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that yet. I've been trying since I got into it, and my wife just actually walked down the steps and walked back up and gave me the look like, you're still on there. You're still talking. You know, I had done a podcast before this for an hour, and now I'm here kicking it with my boys from, you know, Crosstown Cardboard. But yeah, so I'm still, you know, it's a work in progress with my wife. But my point is, you know, do as I say, not as I do. You know, definitely somehow, some way, try to get your wife involved in it. There's people I want to give a shout out. Reckless Cards, Jeremy and Courtney Reckline. And I call them basically the power couple in the hobby. And, you know, husband, wife, kids, they're all involved. They're really cool people, down to earth, you know, also from the Too Thick podcast. And they, you know, it's like the perfect scenario if you wanted to have the entire family involved, and they do it in the hobby. And I really love what they're doing. So that's like something to aspire to if you could do it. but just look for that connection that you can, whatever your daughter's interested in, and there's cards for everything. There's always something that you could do to get involved and build a bond with your kids, man.
That's amazing that your daughter did a whole day at National with you. I mean, talk about setting the bar high for shows.
Yeah. She loved it.
That's wild. I've taken the opposite approach, like, because I know like Oz likes to share, like the more the merrier type thing. Yeah. And like since day one, he's been trying to get his wife to just recognize the hobby. She's like, nah, she don't give a crap. She's like, I don't care about it. Although she did go to National and did buy a card, so that was a step in the right direction. I haven't even entertained it with my, because she doesn't care. See, she actually has graduated from calling my cards my stupid cards to they're just now my cards. So that's
a win.
At least, that's a win. So but as far as like, she just doesn't watch, like if I'm watching a game, she'll watch it, but it's background noise. Other than basketball, she kind of watches a little bit, but football is just, she'll be on her phone or just doing something else where it's just, she's not into. So for me to, like, if you're collecting cards or whatever, you got to be into the subject matter. Like if I didn't like sports, I wouldn't collect cards just for the sheer like investment of it. Because to me, it's fun when you get a card, like, I'm looking in your background there. You pull a Tiger, or Craig, you're getting a McKinney or something. You're invested in the sport. So that further adds to your collection. Like if you're not into that stuff, it just, to me, it wouldn't make sense to collect. If you're in for an investment, then I don't know, buy stocks or do something else. It's just, for me, cards is just an extension of my fandom. And for her, like for me, just try to get her involved, it hasn't happened, and it's cool. It's like, this is my little escape. Everything else we we went to dinner today. We share a lot of times. We do a lot of other things together. So I was like, this is just for me.
Yeah. She does collect though.
She does collect. She collects Funko Pops, which she, for whatever reason, she denied collecting. But the collection kept growing until the point where I was like, yeah, man, you sure have a collection that's not a collection. So she's like,
it's like Craig would say, you're a Funko guy now. You're a Funko guy.
Yeah, she's the Funko girl now.
Tony, you made a point that I always think about when I'm building my personal collection, is I want to build a collection of cards that I could share with my future kids and tell stories about athletes.
Yeah.
So I'm collecting all the players that I love watching. Whether or not they're for my favorite team, I want to be able to share those stories and watch those times. Talk about times seeing them play and watching the highlights growing up, and hopefully my future kids get the chance to see these athletes too. But these connections you're forming with your kids at this age are so valuable. And I'm just going to tell a little personal story that when I started collecting, my grandfather lived in Queens. I've told this story before, and he always called cards tickets. So he would say, lived in Forest Hills. He would say, hey, you want to go get tickets? I'm like 7, 8, 9 years old. So my grandpa, my dad, and me, we would go to Royal Collectibles, which is in Forest Hills, and we would get packs of cards. Like I could visualize the store. I mean, it's still around to this day, actually. They moved right down the block, but I could visualize the store. Like walking in, back room was the singles, the front part was the packs, whatever. So fast forward to my 25th birthday, 5 years ago. I was talking to my dad. I'm like, Dad, I just want to go to Queens and go get Eddie's Sweet Shop. We'll get some ice cream sundaes, and I want to go to Royal Collectibles. So we bought a couple boxes. We opened them up in the car, and it was an amazing 25th birthday. And it's the same stuff I like to do when I was 9, 10 years old.
Nice. I think that when you collect that way, I just wrote it down. Like the stress level comes way down. I mean, like Carmine, you're in a different level of hobby than I think me and Oz, like, because we were just talking about, you like flipping cards and stuff like that. So like when you're buying, you get it's a double process. You're buying inventory to, okay, I'm in this to move this to get something else. Like, so when you're doing it the other way, where I just say bringing stuff in, like the stress level does go down, although, the hobby's not paying for the hobby, because that's a whole nother thing. You got to put some of the fazuls out of your own pocket, as they say. But I just think that it's just, for me, this is an escape, and I want it to be as like low key and enjoyable as possible. And I think collecting and building those bonds like that helps further that out. So
yeah, that helps me feel better about the hobby stress level. I'm glad you brought that up, Tone, because the stress level is an important thing to try to manage for the sake of your family and for your own mental health with, investing our hard-earned money. I mean, Oz just dropped quite a bit of money on a big-time comic, which we won't say because the wife may be walking down the stairs again. But to me, with the connections with you guys, it makes it less stressful because we're always, kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. And then we have a friendship that if we end up losing money on a card, we're almost paying for our friendship that we got through cards in a way. Mm-hmm. But I think for me, it actually helps a little bit with the stress level to have my PC of Knicks autographs, with our crosstown New York Knicks connection. With you guys flashing your Philadelphia Eagles stuff at the same time on the YouTube. So I have the foundation of the Knicks stuff and I also have a little guy PC with like Isaiah Thomas, Spud Webb, Earl Boykins, Muggsy Bogues, just a kind of a weird, niche thing of like 5 foot something guys or barely 6 feet. Nate Tiny Archibald.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, yep.
Cool. That's cool then. So you're not fully like, not all your stuff is flip. Like you got some stuff on the side that you could just, that's dope. Like that.
Yeah. And we were talking about the risk reward on the Wolfpack group chat too, in our recent episode this week. And like the stuff that I just was showing off to you guys on the mail day that I got, like stuff, like if you're watching on the YouTube, like a Magic Johnson 1986 Fleer sticker on card auto or Odell Beckham rookie immaculate tag and stuff like that, like I'm okay to keep that because I like it anyway. So, it's like if I sell it for a profit, great. If I don't sell it for what I want to sell it for, then I'll keep it because I like looking at it and I like reliving those nostalgic memories also. And I can tell my dad, going back to the family aspect, Dad, guess what? I just got this, this Magic Johnson autograph from before I was born. And he's like, oh yeah. And then we start talking about Larry Bird and then we, get to bond that way. So I'm interested, Craig, too, since I'm the only one without a wife here, although my girlfriend is very supportive of the hobby and gives me time to talk about it. What is your wife like with your collecting? Like, does she collect? Does she participate? Because I don't know either.
Every once in a while, if I'll get some packs or a blaster, we'll play a game where she opens the packs, names the team, and I have to guess the player, right? So we'll see how good my NBA knowledge is. But no, my wife is just super supportive. So we'll go to the hobby shop and she'll sit down in the chair there as I'm scrolling through some dollar boxes. She set up with me for like the first hour or two of my first show. So if you're watching on YouTube, Carmine, I'll send you a picture of my first show, and she's taking a picture of me all proud and everything. But no, she's super supportive.
Like, stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be conscious where there's definitely moments where we're together. I'm just scrolling through Instagram, eBay. I'm like, all right, we put the cards out for a second. Not that my wife doesn't mind, but I myself try to be conscious of that.
Yeah,
doesn't participate, but is super supportive of what I do. But if there is a big purchase, you guys said when you split the MJ, I would say, you reach a threshold where I'm like, hey, just letting you know I'm spending this amount on the card. I need you to just trust my judgment here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard for someone outside of the hobby to understand that at first. Like I said, like he's like, at the time, if we hit a 10, that's $250K. It's like, yeah, I mean, well, you got to split. It's 125. But I'm like, dude, if I put in 3 and come out with 125, that's but yeah, it's tough for, my wife just went to her first. I just went to a show this past week and I took her with me. Went to Philly. Shout out to my man at the Fishtown Card Show, Brett. She went, and you got a Craig next time. Well, Carmine's on the other side of the world. I was about to say come through, but she went. She lasted about a little under an hour or so, and she's like, "All right." I'm like, "This is not." She's like, "Well, I felt a little out of place because I saw some people there that I knew, but I'm introducing her and stuff like that." But as she goes, I did see some other wives kind of, following their husbands around and standing to the back. But that show was so packed, and if you're not into it, that's the first, you're like, there's, it's not enough room here. And she just kind of gave her a couple bucks and she went down and hit the slot machines for a little while. But we, we made a bit of a day of it, but that's probably the extent of, in little doses, but I don't foresee her asking me, when the next Philly show is and how she can come with. But
someday, maybe.
Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, that's my, and she even was like, I don't even want to go because she knows how I am with very picky with the cards and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, just come with. I said, it's a small ballroom. It's a nice show. That's another thing. If you want to introduce somebody the first time for a hobby, go to a smaller show. It's all in one room. You can walk the entire floor in a half hour, if you're not stopping at every table, but it's real quick. And
what you got to do is you just got to throw it there. Go take her to the National like I did. Just be like, bang.
Yeah, that was
my wife's first experience.
Yeah, that would not be
first time going to first show being national would be like the first time you go to a ball game and you sit courtside. You're never going to top that again. Exactly. How do you even go to a game after that?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I loved what you said too, Oz, about finding that connection that's like kind of related to cards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tony, you have the Funkos that your wife likes, although it's not a collection,
right?
Officially, but it's kind of similar to your cards. And then you have the Stranger Things, which is a show, and they just so happen to have cards for you, Oz. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I've tried to do the spin zone like you guys did on the childhood relationship for my girlfriend. So I'll say, honey, you're so great at decorating and setting things up. What do you think about my showcase layout here at the show? Like, and then, or if we're going to the San Francisco card show or somewhere, like, hey, this day will be for the card show. Sunday is for us, and we're going to go see the site. So like trying to collaborate on that kind of thing. And, but I mean, seriously, like, using what she likes and finding that, okay, well, how can I relate that to then the sports cards so we can, first of all, I can have an easier time collecting and she won't be breathing down my neck every time I bring up cards. And then secondly, we'll both have a good time together. And so I've started getting her cards of guys who have appeared on her favorite podcast, which is the Armchair Expert with Dak Shepard, and slightly more well-known than Crosstown Cardboard. And
just a little ahead. You guys are catching them on the charts. I saw.
Well, they've been in existence for longer than us. That's got to be the only reason.
That's the only reason. Yeah, the only reason.
So any guy who's on that show, I get her a card, like Dwayne Wade. She's immediately a fan. Or Carmelo, he's been on, or Chris Bosh, or guys like that. And then I'm like, okay, we're reeling it in. And then now I'm like, oh, Kyrie just got traded. He's on the team with Luka. And she's like, Doncic? I'm like, yes. We're getting there. I'm like, because Luka Doncic is not a super household name for somebody who's not in sports. So
yeah, my wife would have no clue.
Yeah. So trying to find those little connective pieces that can kind of I mean, everybody gets excited when they're opening something new. So that's a great move too. And I feel like that it kind of goes back to the inclusion aspect that we were talking about in our first guest of the Philly series with Sam Evans, the sports card collector.
My man Sam. The manipulation is strong in this one. I like him.
He's that dude.
Spin zone.
It's a spin zone.
So, Craig, what do you think? Should we? We're almost at 50 minutes here. We had a great conversation about the family ties to the hobby and how to encourage those familial relationships with the hobby collectors. Should we break down our Super Bowl matchup here with our cousins Philadelphia Eagles against the Chiefs?
We got two diehard Eagles fans, card collectors. I think, Tony, you have that dope Randall Cunningham shield auto.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are the letters. True Eagles fans here. Yeah, let's talk a little Super Bowl Eagles cards. Yes. I would actually, because this is also part of the Philly series too, if you want to touch upon what it's like being a collector or what the scene is like specifically in Philly as it relates to cards, as opposed to going to somewhere like National or maybe other shows that you've been to.
Yeah. Well, I'm fresh off a show, and the amount of, man, that was crazy. I mean, the vendor, that show was packed. I mean, so, all that stuff about that you hear online about, the hobby's taking a dip, but if that's a dip, man, that's a hell of a deal. I mean, it is alive and well. Tons of Eagles stuff there. There was actually one I missed out on the Randall Cunningham, either I looked at every case. I did not see this card. I get home, the first card, if I open up Instagram, the first thing I see is some guy picks up a 1-on-1 on card Randall auto with a piece of he says it was game used in the
I saw that.
in
I
the
saw that
post.
card. I thought of you.
Yeah. Dude, I know, because I got like freaking like 5 DMs with it. And it's like you say, Craig, when you become that guy, you're that guy, you know, for whoever you're this guy, you're that collector. And man, if I would, so I didn't buy a card. I just didn't, because I saw a couple Clementes, but they were too far off centered for me, which I taught my wife. She's like, why do you sometimes take forever? Don't buy. I said, look, this is exactly why. And I showed her what centering is. She's like, oh, okay, I see. I was like, this is why I don't, you know. But had I seen that car, so I come home, I'm like, look, I would have bought this car. She's like, well, where was it? I was like, it wasn't in any case, or maybe I didn't see it. But, and of course, I was like, damn, it's the first one I see when I come back. I hit the dude up right away. I was like, he's like, nah, man, it's I'm gonna bury it away for the PC right now. I was like, I totally understand, because I have a Randall on card NFL Shield. I was not losing that on eBay. I didn't care what I had to pay. Like, that was one of those where I'm like, I want that. It's gonna be mine, and I'm super happy to have it. I actually have to send it out to get slabbed up. And just that, I love the Eagles, man. And then most of my collection is that. And it's just that whole collect what you love stuff. And right now the city is on fire with all kinds of stuff. I mean, people are, you know, I'm in a couple of different groups, and people are selling, and people are buying. They are not, you know, buying into that. Well, now's not the time to buy. It's like the fever is at a high pitch. There's pop-up memorabilia and the highways. There's people selling all kinds of stuff. So if you're a vendor in this area, man, if you're not doing well, you're doing it wrong. So yeah, that was definitely the time to be selling some stuff, except for me, because I'm not selling my stuff, but because it's mine. But yeah, well, and these are the old, like a lot of the stuff that's moving. It was all, you know, Jalen Hurts, all the guys that are currently playing. You know, a lot of there was some older school dudes, Eagles there, but I didn't see them moving as much as all the, you know, the regular stuff. And you know, that's only one thing I'll say about the show. Every case looked the same, and I mean, I get it.
Hurts, Devonta Smith.
Yep, Hurts, Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, Miles Sanders. Those are the big offensive guys, and then you might get sprinkled in a defensive player here or there. Jason Kelsey is our center. People love him in this town. He is a character.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. Travis's brother. So that's a whole other storyline. As far as the game goes, I think we win. I feel that we have the better offensive defensive line. I think that's where, Carmine, you're the expert here. I think that's where the game is won. Yeah, Mahomes is going to do some magical things, but I just feel like other than Kelsey, I'm not afraid of any other weapons. I think we can lock down on the outside. Maybe we play a guy over the top on Kelsey and make Mahomes run around. Let's test out that ankle, see if it's for real. You know, nothing dirty. Just, you know, let's see if you can go or not. We're not Cincinnati. You know, our offensive line, they're nice. I keep hearing about the Kansas City's defensive end, and I kept hearing about Bosa 2 weeks ago. We have a guy, Hassan Reddick, that's a monster. We have, you know, like our whole line. To me, it's the whole line play. It's going to dictate the game. I think we win. Get the confetti ready, Oz.
Grease the phone poles like last time.
Have you guys seen the meme going around about the kid hacking into the NFL database? So there's this huge meme. It's been everywhere. So it states this kid has hacked into the NFL database and found a script. Eagles will win. Put the bet in. So the actual score is 37-34. The Eagles win in the game. And I don't know if you guys can see.
Right, see. Oh,
okay. That's the script. Okay.
Yep. So
why is all this scripts? Like, if real quick, I'll let you go, Oz. If this
I know where it came from.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know where it came from?
No, I don't, and I think it's nonsense. But go ahead.
So Arian Foster retired.
Yes. Oh, yes, I did see. Okay, right.
He's on a Barstool Sports podcast, Macro Dosing, and he said something about how the NFL script, and they get the script before the season, and the internet just ran with it. The internet always wins.
Right. Yeah. Right. Because I'm like, and real quick, I'll let you. If that was the case, you'd have, well, why isn't Dallas winning all the time? Or, those are major markets, New York. Like, why are these?
Because they're the classic heel, bro. So they can't
right.
win.
Okay, well, just get them. Okay, but make it so that it's just, to me,
They do it. They do it up every year. They hype them up at the beginning of the year. They give them all the hype. They get everybody built up. They get the Dallas fan base going, the America's team, and then they take them down when everybody's at their highest peak. They just beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, knocked out Tom Brady, and you think they're going to beat the Niners, and it's like, Brock Purdy, here comes Brocky, and he takes over. And here's going to be the first rookie to ever go ahead and win a Super Bowl against the evil nation, Philadelphia Eagles. Boo, nobody likes the Eagles. You know what? Come to the link, baby. Watch what's going to happen. SF, whatever the hell you want to call them. San Fran. You came to the link and you got smacked. And I want to give a shout out to my man, Shane Norton, a.k.a. the sports card nobody, calling me delusional because I have faith in my team. The only one that's delusional, Mr. Shane Norton, is you, baby. Your team got smacked 31-7. Eat it.
Wow.
Eagles will win the Super Bowl.
Carmine, say what you want about this podcast. It is not lacking passion.
There's a lot of passion. There's and I used to say when I worked behind the scenes at ESPN that
with who'd you work with? What's his name?
Who?
Mike Breen. That's the one.
Mike Breen. Bang. I spoke with Mike Breen. I haven't brought up Mike Breen in a while.
I got you.
We've been talking behind the scenes, me and Mike. But no, he was very kind though. When I worked at ESPN, he gave me a half an hour on the phone with him and gave me a lot of really good advice, which was awesome. I mean, to talk to somebody at the pinnacle of, it'd be like you're starting off as a high school coach and you call up Bill Belichick.
That's dope.
So anyway, I think the Eagles, I think you're spot on, Tone, and with saying just the offensive and defensive line, I think that goes to the Eagles. And as we've seen with the Giants Super Bowls against Tom Brady, to bring up our New York victories for the Giants. If you get a rush on a great quarterback, what can you do? So we'll have to see. I mean, I think unless the Mahomes magic is to an all-time level, I think the Eagles are just so stout and strong in all those different phases of the game. So I would also predict an Eagles win. But before we head out, I wanted to say something that our boy Steve Splenda Sports Cards brought up, and he wanted me to ignite the fire toward the end of our podcast, which I said because me and him did that great Kevin Durant deal that we talked about a couple episodes on Crosstown Cardboard, that I would bring it up for him. I know he's a huge fan of the Cousins collectibles.
Sweetness.
He wanted me to say on behalf of Steve Splenda that Nikola Jokic is better than Joel Embiid.
He knows he's lying when he says that crap. Yeah. Bro, anybody who's an NBA fan, okay, just a few weeks ago, they went head to head and my man Embiid trashed, and I mean trashed Jokic one-on-one. They won the game. I don't want to hear it, Tony.
No.
Minus. All right. Okay,
no. All I want to say is just hold your this podcast went from like, yeah, we really love all these things, and as soon as we get to sports, it's like, bang, here we go. So go ahead, Oz.
So Mr. Splenda, Mr. Sweetness, he really knows how to get under my skin. But listen, and I always preface it with this: I love Jokic. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong. But back-to-back MVP, I'm gonna have to, just not agree with that. And Joel Embiid deserved at least one of those. And I think this last time that they came out and they went head-to-head, Joel was like, you know what? I'm gonna show everybody in the United States of America and across the world who the hell Joel Embiid is and who the hell Nikola Jokic is. Fugazi. And you heard it. I said it.
You said he was a good player. Then you said he was Fugazi.
Fugazi, 3-time MVP. That's what I mean.
You better hope his brothers are not listening to this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll take them all, bro. No, but my thing is, like, to be even in the conversation for a third MVP to me is insane without the hardware. That would be such rarefied air to be a 3-time MVP and not even make it out of the second round of the playoffs. It's like, listen, you guys are in first place now. And like I told Steve, and I said, listen, if you guys do not win the championship this year with your quote unquote 3-time MVP and Jamal Murray and everybody else that was supposedly hurt, all I said is you guys better win. You better win. Well, what does that mean? I said, you better win. Because if you don't win, then that whole Nikola Jokic is out the window, bro.
They need Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. He ain't coming in anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're talking about MVP candidates, maybe by the time this comes out, LeBron might be the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. He just needs 36 points tonight at the time of recording.
He's got 20 at halftime. So,
wow.
I have it. You know he wants to do it at home.
He already has 20?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's going to be like when Kobe did that, that last game where he took, 600 shots. Like
that was awesome.
Yeah, it's wrapping up tonight. Like there's no way that if he's got 20 at halftime already, we should, by the time this airs, he'll lock that in, and he'll just be I don't see a huge bump for his cards personally. I think they're kind of just, it is what it is right now with him. I think the next bump is going to be retirement time or something like that. Because right now they're not playing well. So this is kind of just a little, he's going to break this record. But then by next week, I think people will forget and just move on to the next thing. So, but I think long term though, he'll be that dude. So.
Oh yeah.
Before we wrap up, let's all wish, not that he needs it, Carmine, a fantastic weekend set up at the Burbank Card Show. First big show, right? First like big show you're setting up at.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably going to be bigger than the San Francisco one. It'll definitely be bigger than Portland, and it'll definitely be bigger than the Medford local shows for sure.
So knock on Medford.
How many showcases?
I got 2.
Okay,
I'm splitting the table with my buddy Jack. So
okay, nice. I'm sure you're gonna make some noise, man. You're doing your thing, man. You're, like I said before, you're sneaky. You're doing your thing, man. I like it. Nice and quiet, making moves. No,
say real G's moving silence.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Like lasagna.
Yeah.
I told you, I was listening to those mafia podcasts, man, and there's a lot of dudes in there named Carmine, and they know how to make moves. So I mean, that should be
the Paisans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Either way, it'll be a fun time. No matter how many sales happen, it'll be cool, and then we'll have a wrap up on our YouTube channel. I'll film some stuff similar to the San Francisco vlog, and
nice.
Can't wait.
See what you guys think about it. But
nice. Build that network, baby.
Yeah, definitely. So how about your guys' favorite Philly? Just correct me if I'm wrong. Favorite Philly athletes to collect? I know, Tone, you got the Roberto Clemente for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
We got Oz with Allen Iverson for hoops, and then football, Randall Cunningham for Oz or for Tony.
No, Randall Cunningham. Yep.
Yeah, and then am I missing anybody who's like in the top tier as far as Philly collections?
Well, you do Donovan McNabb as well, right?
I do. Yeah. I have a little bit of Donovan McNabb. I have a Wilt Chamberlain card. That is actually one of that's an investment card. I mean, obviously, I never saw Wilt play, but that was one of those cards where I have tucked away, and but it's all I haven't jumped into the '90s hoops too much yet. I have a couple Iversons. But it's Eagles heavy, and like I said before, that's where my passion lies. So I always say just chase that, man, because we always say if they go to 0, you're still gonna love what you have, and that's where it's at, baby. Yeah. Fly Eagles fly.
And Charles Barkley, don't forget Charles Barkley, Sir Charles.
How about Dr. J?
Dr. J.
Yeah, oh yeah, I have. Yeah, that's right. I have his. Actually, I traded my Dr. J to Sam Evans, and then I had to go get another one, so I was able to pick one up. I was like, man, that was a big hole in my collection. I needed that. So,
Sir Charles, yeah,
that's
great that you guys have done a deal, and our Philly series comes full circle with a deal from Cousin Tony to Sam for a Philadelphia legend.
Absolutely. Before we get out of here, again, thank you, guys. You're doing your thing. Keep grinding. I know it's tough sometimes, man. You come up with topics. Sometimes they just, once you start talking, man, you guys, it just kind of flows naturally. And you guys have good chemistry. Keep it moving. I like the New York connection, even though I don't pull for New York teams, but that's neither here nor there. But nah, man, keep grinding, man. You guys are doing your thing, man. Like I said, looking forward to building this thing, and let's keep it going.
Yes, and like I told Carmine on our special last night, you know, he's talking about me being his man crush, and I told him he had me at hello. You know, from the first time I met Carmine, I was just like, man, there's just something special about this guy, and like I call him Carmine Jemmy, and then it goes back to that shirt that he had on the other day. It was just like shining like a diamond, baby, just like bright and brilliant. I was like, yo, look at this dude chilling. You know what I mean? So the Jemmy.
Bro, he had the chest salad going with the
hey, I gotta get my Italian roots.
Yeah, that was nice, bro. I was like, yo, Carmine is killing it, man.
Carmine will whip out the silks, and he's not afraid to let it fly.
Like that. Usually it's Craig, you know, because Craig been that street cred too, man. Craig, don't let Craig fool you, man. Craig knows what's going on, man.
I'm observant. I'm always listening.
Yeah, Craig be walking them streets in New York like he owns that. You know what I mean? Like,
you are not lying, though.
I know. He'd be like,
Craig knows the bodegas. He could get you. He tell you everything, man.
Loki, I'm plugged in. We're good. We're good over here. I got you. Carmine, you said Carmine had you at hello. Carmine had me at. Will you accept trade?
Is that how you got? I forget. Is that how you guys did a deal, right, or something like that? Yeah, that's dope.
Yep, we had a trade back when it all started, but
nice.
Yeah, you guys have been great. Thanks for coming on and taking the time and pumping up your Eagles. And man, who would have thought? Who would have thought the Wolfpack is continuing to get stronger? But yeah, this has been a great time and talking about family with the cousins.
There you go,
sir.
Love it.
Just the beginning, fellas.
All right, guys. We'll talk soon. Thanks again.
Peace.
Go Birds.